Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do my highlighter collection for you. I have way too many highlighters for the fact that it takes forever to actually get through one highlighter. But I love buying highlighters, so they're one of my weaknesses. Anyway, so if this sounds interesting to you, just stay tuned. We'll get right into it. So I might as well start this video off with like my oldest highlighter. This is my first highlighter I think I've ever bought. I basically just keep onto it for like, you know, nostalgia purposes. It's the Physicians Formula Shimmer Strips. I have this one in Waikiki Beach. So you can use these, they're kind of multi-purpose. So because these strips are kind of one of the darker shades, you can use this as a bronzer. You can use the lighter strips for like a blush. Or you could use it for a highlighter, kind of depending on what your skin tone is. You can also use any of these individually as eyeshadows. This was not a bad highlighter for back in the day. It's still an okay drugstore highlighter. It's a little bit chunky. There's definitely highlighters. I just swatched it there on my arm. There's definitely highlighters that you can get that are more intense, that are more smooth, that look better on the skin. But you can see that if you use the first couple strips, you can get a really nice peachy gold shade. And if you use like the bottom three, you can get a really nice bronzy brown shade there. So this is an okay highlighter. It's not really something that I go for a lot anymore, but it's a nice option. So the next highlighter I have is the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek. They call these cheeks, but they're more like highlighters. Anyways, I have this in the color Wisp. This highlighter is so beautiful. I don't go for a lot of like cream or liquid highlighters, but ColourPop's formula makes it so easy to use as a cream that it almost just feels like a powder. So I've swatched it on my wrist there. You can see so beautiful. It's like a peachy gold highlighter. It's so smooth. It's never chunky. And these are a really affordable highlighter option. So you can get these from the ColourPop website. Obviously, they're $10 or less, I'm pretty sure. And it's lasted me a fairly long time. Just because you don't have to use much at all. And how I use this is I just dip my beauty blender into it, swipe it around just like once or twice, and just kind of dab it on my cheekbones there. Like, these are so beautiful. I've been meaning to kind of go on the ColourPop website and buy a couple more of these in different shades just to see how I like some of the other ones, but I really think that I nailed it when I bought Wisp, because I think after looking at some of the other colors that this is probably the most beautiful of all the shades they have there. So next I have one of the BECCA split pans that they put out. So on one side you get a Shimmering Skin Perfector, on the other side you get a mineral blush. So I have, the blush is Amaretto and the highlight is Prosecco Pop. This was one of the collabs that Jaclyn Hill did with BECCA. And I really like this one. It's definitely a super, super gold highlight. I have it swatched just right there. Really beautiful, like BECCA Shimmering Skin Perfectors always are. I will say though, with these split pans, I do find that the highlighter side is a little bit drier, a little bit rougher, a little bit less smooth than the just standard Shimmering Skin Perfectors. And I don't know if that's because this is like, you know, it's in the split pan, or because it was a collaboration and sometimes the formulas get changed a little bit when they do that, but it's a really beautiful highlighter there. Would this work fantastic for all skin tones? Probably not. Wouldn't work very well for really fair skin tones because you would basically just see this yellowy gold stripe. But for me, this looks really beautiful as a highlighter, especially when it's summer and I'm a little bit more tanned. So next I have the Make Up Forever Pro Sculpting Duo. So these came out a while ago and they were split pans, so you'd get a bronzer on one half and a highlighter on the other half. There was two shades. This one is obviously the more warm tone gold highlight, and then the other one was like a cool toned kind of silvery pink highlighter. And everybody loved the highlight in both of these, but nobody seemed to really like the bronzer. I think I used the bronzer once and then was like, not for me. It's just too, like, reddy orange. It's just not a very flattering bronzer, but everybody loved the highlights. So recently they put out these same highlights, but they made the whole pan the highlights, so you don't have to buy the bronzer anymore, which is an awesome idea, because this is one of my favorite highlights, favorite highlighters that I own for sure. It's just this really beautiful kind of goldy peach color. It's just so pigmented. It looks so nice on the skin, and it's just so smooth. Like, you don't get 1 ounce of like flakiness or powderiness on this. It's just so smooth. It's a really kind of strange formula. It almost feels a little bit like a cream powder, but it just makes for a beautiful highlighter. Like, I absolutely recommend this one. It's just so beautiful. So the next one I have is the BECCA Afterglow palette. So basically in this palette you got 3 of the Shimmering Skin Perfectors and 2 of the mineralized blushes. So you got Moonstone, Rose Gold, and Topaz there. And then the 2 blushes are, what are they called? Something Honey and, let me see, Wild Honey and Flower Child, which are 2 really beautiful blushes that they put out. These are pretty, but once again, I'm not sure that you get the same quality in this palette as you typically get with the individual Shimmering Skin Perfectors. I find these a little bit more dry, a little bit more powdery and flaky, and you just don't get the intensity that I find that you get with the individuals. But it is a nice little palette to kind of get to try the all like 5 different products out instead of buying all individually like huge pans. And I do like these. Moonglow is a really nice highlighter for people who have very fair skin. Rose Gold I use more or less as like a blush or a blush topper. And then Topaz, I haven't really actually used that one too much, just because it's very goldy, coppery, browny. So, but it's more of an eyeshadow I would use it as rather than anything else. And then I love the 2 blushes that come in this. So I'll just show you them kind of swatched on my hands. So you can see, like, there's not the intensity that you get with, I'll show you later in the video, that you get with the individual ones, but they are still really pretty highlighters. And I am glad I got this because I like using the blushes out of this palette a lot. So yeah, it's an okay palette. So the next one I have is one of the Laura Mercier Face Illuminators. I have this in the shade ooh, that's upside down, Indiscretion. It's a really beautiful highlighter. So here's what it looks like, and it's just like this awesome swirly kind of wavy print in it. It's just so pretty. It's kind of like a peachy goldy highlight, really pigmented, really beautiful, lasts all day, not too glittery, but I will say that Laura Mercier highlighters have more glitter in them than other highlighters. So if you really hate glitter in a highlighter, you might not love this, but I think it still looks really beautiful. And this originally came out on its own, and then a little while later they kind of introduced some more shades in this range, where a couple were lighter, a couple were darker. Around Christmas time they had put out a little kind of like value palette where you got 4 minis of these in one palette, and I was so tempted to get it. But I ended up holding off and not getting it because one of the shades in it was this one, and I was like, oh my god, how long is it going to take me to even hit pan on this, let alone like having like a little mini backup of it in this palette. So I ended up not getting it, but if you got it, oh, good job, because it looked really cool. Anyways, this is another really great highlighter. My next highlighter is like an oldie but a goodie. So this is Mary Luminizer by the Balm. This was probably another one of the first highlighters I ever bought. I don't live anywhere where I can get my hands on the Balm products very easily, so I did order this from Amazon. This is like a cult favorite from the Balm, and I originally did really love it, but as I kind of accumulated more highlighters, I found ones that just worked better for me. If you can look at it there, it's very light, and it drove me crazy. Like, as soon as I bought this highlighter, I dug my nail into it, and I was like, oh no, I ruined it. That drives me crazy. Anyway, so you can see the swatch there. It's really pretty. It's very light though. So this is an absolutely amazing looking highlight for people with pretty fair skin, a little bit lighter than me. I can get away with it, but it's not my go-to highlighter. but it is really pretty. It's definitely like a white. It's so funny because it's got a nice mix of like warm and cool tones to it. Like I see a lot of gold in it, but I see a lot of silver in it, but the white undertone to it is just a little bit too light for me. But a lot of people really love this highlighter, and like look at the front of it. It's just so cool. I love their kind of like retro themed packaging. It's so cool. So the next couple I have are two of the Extra Dimension Skin Finishes from MAC. This came out in a collection from last winter. I'm trying to think what collection it was, and I just can't remember. I can't remember what collection this came out with. Like any kind of like MAC collection that came out, it was difficult to get your hands on, but I did feel like they made these highlighters like fairly available. Like they sold out really quick, but they came back in stock. I ended up finding one of these in store, and usually when I go in store, like everything from the collection is totally sold out, but these were really beautiful. So I swatched two of them there, or the two of them. The first one is really gold, and the second one is pretty like a coppery, kind of bronzy highlighter. So the first one is Oh Darling. That's the really gold one here. This is so beautiful. This is once again another one of my favorite highlighters. I love the little like print on the back there that says MAC. It's just like a nice little extra touch. I'm kind of destroying it because I've been using this highlighter a lot, but nonetheless, like this is an awesome highlighter if you were able to get your hands on it. And this darker, more coppery one is called Shaft of Gold, which I think is such a weird name, but anyways. This one is definitely more suited for darker toned, darker skin tones. I don't use this really as a highlight. I use it more as like kind of a blush topper, or if I want to kind of really like melt my highlighter, blush, bronzer, contour all kind of together and give it a little bit of glow, I'll use this. This is really pretty, but definitely not like your stereotypical highlighter shade. So my next two highlighters are my two BECCA Shimmering Skin Perfectors, my individual pans that I have. Remember when I was saying earlier that I wasn't so sure that you got the exact same quality in the palettes as you do in the individual pans? I am wondering if you can see in my swatches there, like, don't these swatches seem a little bit more intense? They seem really smooth. They almost seem like a cream powder. Compared to the other ones, which I find a little bit drier. So the first one I have is Champagne Pop. This was obviously the collaboration that Jaclyn Hill did with BECCA. Really beautiful. It's similar to my other favorite, which is Opal, but it has a little bit more gold and a little bit more like peachiness to it. That's the second one that I have swatched here. And then I'll show you Opal. And Opal here just has like, it's a little bit of a toned down version of Champagne Pop almost. Not as much peach, not as much gold, and a little bit more silver in it. But it's a really beautiful shade that I think works so well with most skin tones. They do have a couple shades that are lighter than this. They have Pearl and Moonstone, but I think most lighter skin tones can get away with this one. And most darker skin tones I think could get away with this unless you're kind of very, very dark. It might look a little bit light on you, but it's just so beautiful. So that's the one that I have swatched right there, that first one. So my next, ooh, that's weird. I can like kind of see, it's very mirrored. I can almost see myself in the reflection, which I don't want to be happening because I look like a bum right now. Anyways, this is the Dior Skin Nude Air Luminizer. This is in the shade 001. I remember Dior came out with a limited edition, actually it was two highlighters they came out with, and it was like something to do with like rose gardens or something about the gardens, and they were so expensive. They were like $60 something, I think, and I held off, and then one day I was like, no, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna buy them. I went in, they're sold out. So I was so disappointed. So when these came out, I decided to grab it. Let me swatch it here for you. So it's pretty. It's in that, like, if you can't tell, I really like peachy kind of gold highlighters. Those are my thing. It's a really beautiful highlighter. It's strange because when I remember feeling it for the first time, I was like, oh, this feels kind of like dry and a little bit rough. I'm not sure how this is going to look on the skin, but it's actually really pretty. It really surprised me. I don't have any other Dior highlighters to kind of compare it with, so I'm glad that it kind of met my expectations. And the other thing is that it came with this little kind of kabuki highlighter brush, and usually when you get those brushes with products, they're just total crap, and I just immediately throw them away and never think about them again. But it actually is really beautiful. Let me see if I can, it's right over here. Ooh, just reaching across here. There it is right there. So this actually puts on highlighter really beautiful, and 9 times out of 10 when I'm doing my highlighter will use this lately, and that was a really nice surprise. So the next one I have are 2 of the Bobbi Brown highlighting powders. These are so beautiful. I think Bobbi Brown does an amazing job with her highlighters. So I have 2 of them. This one is Bronze Glow, and then the other one I have is Pink Glow. I have them swatched out here. This is obviously Bronze Glow and this is Pink Glow. These are so beautiful. If you can get your hands on these, I totally recommend it. Like Pink Glow in particular, I have nothing else like that. And do I wear this really as a highlighter? No, I usually wear it more as like a blush topper, but it is so beautiful. Like if I'm gonna go out and like I'm trying to take some, you know, nice pictures where my highlight is really like popping, I will put this on top of my blush and it just looks so beautiful. And it's like, just look at the actual product there. Like you can't really pick it up in camera, but it's like this nice white mixed with like a peachy pink color there. And I was like, what kind of color is that going to give me? Is that mix going to give me? But it's like a really beautiful pink shade. Like they're so smooth. There's no fallout to them. They glide on the skin. They look beautiful. They're shimmery, but not in a bad way. They're not overly glittery or anything like that. And I think these are part of the permanent line. So this one is Bronze Glow. This is beautiful. This I think came out as a limited edition highlighter a few years ago and has come back. I think this is permanent, but it's been repackaged. It doesn't have the limited edition packaging on it, but it's supposed to be the same product. So if you can get your hands on these, I really recommend them because these are another one of my favorites. So sticking with the Bobbi Brown theme, I only have one of the Bobbi Brown Shimmer bricks. These are another kind of like cult classic. Like everybody knows Bobbi Brown for her shimmer bricks. She's got tons of different shades in this. I have this one in bronze. So I'll just open it up so you can see it and see how beautiful they are. When you see the Physician Formula shimmer strips, they are a total ripoff of the Bobbi Brown shimmer bricks. These are really beautiful because they're so multi-purpose. You can use them all together. You can split them into and use like 3 shades at a time. You can use it as a like, you know, a like brow bone highlight if you want to just use this white shade. You can use these as eyeshadows. You can use these as highlighters. You can use these as bronzers because you've got these really dark shades, and so it's a really multi-purpose product. And these are really pretty. So I just showed, you know, I've just got 2 swatches here. So I basically just put the first 3 strips together, and these are like the bottom 3 strips together. So you can totally get a multitude of highlights. You can go lighter, you can go darker depending on what you're going for that day. So these are a really great multi-use product. They are pricey, but the reality is these are going to last you forever. Like I've had this for years and it barely looks like I've even touched it. Like they don't even look like they're that swirled together or anything like that. These are not as intense as her highlighter powders though, so if I had to recommend one over the other, I would say go with the Pink Glow and Bronze Glow highlighters over these. But if you're looking for one product that's going to do a bunch of different things, this would definitely be something to have. So MAC fairly recently came out with some new extra mention skin finishes. They basically came out, I think there's 4 or 5 shades of these, and they're basically all kind of duochrome highlighters. So this one is in Show Gold. So if you just look at it, it's definitely got a like a silvery base, but with a very pink shift to it. So this one, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful to look at swatched. Oh, so beautiful. So I don't really use this as a highlighter, even though it's marketed as being a highlighter. I use this more as a blush topper, and it just gives this like really unique look to your blush. And I really like these. They are pretty glittery, I will say. So if you don't like glitter, you may not love these, but I think these are just so cool. I've been kind of toying with the idea of grabbing another shade or two in these and trying them out. There's one that has a really nice kind of goldy yellow shade that I think would be really cool, but I really love MAC's Extra Dimension Skin Finishes. I think they're so cool. You get so much product for, I think these are $30-something or so. They're gonna last you a long time. And then you always have the option of when they are done, you can always back to MAC all your empties. So I think these are really cool. So the next couple that I have are from MAC. So these are the mineralized skin finishes. So these have been around in the MAC collection for a long time. They've got 5 or 6 permanent shades, and then with different collections come some limited edition skin finishes. But the 2 that I have are in the permanent collection. So the first one I have is Soft and Gentle, which is just so, oh god, I can't get it open. Which is just so beautiful. That's the lighter of the 2 that I have swatched on my arm. And then I have Cheeky Bronze, which is definitely darker. And I really love using this one in the summertime where I'm a little bit more tan. And it also looks really nice as like a really bronzy blush topper. These are so beautiful looking. And like I've had these for several years, and like I haven't even worn like the dome of them down, so they last so long. They look really beautiful, and they're a really fair price, I think, for how long you're gonna have these and the quality of the product. If somebody was to come to me, they're new to highlighting, they were looking to get a great highlight that they could wear every day and would look great on most skin tones, I would say to go for MAC Soft and Gentle. This is just like a cult classic and a staple in basically every makeup collector's collection. It's just really beautiful. Oh, we're getting really down to the wire. I've only got a couple left. So I have this Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder in Highlight 01. As far as I know, this is the only kind of highlight shade in this range. She does have like a bronzy version of this. So, but anyways, this is the highlighter shade. So I have it swatched there. It's definitely a little bit of a different highlight for me. I typically go for like the goldy peachy ones. This is a lot like a Mary Luminizer in my opinion, but a little bit less intense. And it like, as much as I would wonder how you could put the name matte in with a highlighter, I think that this actually makes sense. It is very, not shimmery, but like, it's just got a really nice sheen to it without being extra glittery or anything like that. So you get a lot of product in here. It's a really different highlighter. Like it's more of a sheen than a highlighter. You're not going to get a huge glittery shimmery highlight that you can see from Mars with this, but it's really pretty. For me, I think it's a bit too light. I've been toying around with giving this to my sister for a while now just because it's nice, but I don't know how often I'm gonna end up using this. I do like using this as like a brow bone highlight, but I'm not sure if it's worth keeping for just that purpose because I have tons of brow bone highlight options that I can use. But if you have very fair skin and you're looking for a more natural highlighter, this would be a really great option. So these 2 are my only liquid highlighters that I own. These are by Cover FX. These are the Cover FX Custom Enhancer Drops. I have this in the shade Sunlight, and then I have this in the shade Candlelight. Sunlight is the lighter of the 2. I have them swatched right here, and you can see just how incredibly shimmery they are. They're actually so shimmery that they're opaque. Like you cannot see your skin through them if they are heavily swatched. And these are really cool. These are a really cool product. I was so interested in these when they came out. I really like them too. So more than typically using them on my face, because they actually are so incredibly pigmented that like for day to day I almost have a hard time wearing these on my cheekbones. But what I do really like using these for is mixing a couple drops in with my foundation and getting a really nice glow. They mix well with other products. They actually don't create any issues with your foundation or powder or anything when you put them on top. That's typically why I don't mess around with liquid highlighters, is that I don't want it messing up my foundation or my powder underneath. I don't want to spend a ton of time blending them out, but these are really beautiful. And these are gonna last forever, even though they're pretty pricey. I think they're probably almost $50. Like, use maybe a drop every time you use these, and like they're gonna last forever. You get 15 mils in here. They're so beautiful. So last but not least is another throwback. This was another one of my first highlighters I ever bought. This is NARS Albatross. This is in with the kind of blush collection, but I mean, you'd never really wear this as a blush because it's like a totally white powder. So I have it swatched there, and this used to be all the rage. Everybody was highlighting with this. It's kind of something that has kind of fallen by the wayside because for me, it's obviously very white. It's a little bit too light for me to be using as a highlighter, and it's got a very heavy, like gold yellowy, almost like green undertone or shift to it. So it's a little bit strange looking as a highlighter. It's kind of cool though. It's kind of one of the first kind of duochrome highlighters that came out way back in the day. And anyways, I keep this more for like nostalgia than anything, but this is NARS Albatross. I will say too, it's quite a dry powder, like kind of dry and chalky. So I mean, maybe that's because I've had this for so long, but this is something I just keep on to and don't really use a whole lot as a highlighter. I do remember I used it a couple weeks ago just because I kind of refound it in my collection, and I was kind of like, oh geez, highlighters have come such a long, far way since NARS Albatross that this doesn't really, you know, doesn't really fit in anymore. But this was a goodie back in the day. So that was my entire highlighter collection. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to be back next with my eyeshadow palette collection. So watch out for that in the next little while. I think it's going to take me a little while to get through, but I'll get it all figured out. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good day. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!